This is a tutorial or a demonstration of how to approach drawing hair in a beginning level portrait drawing. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you obviously to have your facial features mapped out, maybe even done, and then we're going to be going in and adding the hair. So for this, the purpose of this, I'm just going to map out a general shape of the face. So I'm going to try to look at this, but I'm going to put the shape of the face in here. Try to do it the relative same size so I can demonstrate the hair properly. And the most important thing that I could say about doing hair is just that you're trying to look at it as shapes. So instead of looking at it as a bunch of hair, instead look at it as a bunch of different shapes. So the first shape that I'm going to focus on, I'm going to start with this part, that part of the hair, and then I'm going to just follow along here, and if it helps you can trace out if you're looking at something. If not, you're going to be drawing from imagination, and you're just going to have to kind of think about how you want it to look, maybe find a reference photograph so that you can apply what you see and try to fulfill the vision that you have. So I'm just looking at this line, and I'm going to go ahead and map that line out first so I kind of know where I'm starting. So her hairline is actually kind of about right here, and the part is about here. So I'm just going to start that first line and try to remember to draw as lightly as possible first so that you can easily erase if you need to. So that's just the first line, and then I want to try to turn that into a shape. So the part up here, I can bring that line up here and come around and turn that whole piece into a shape. Then I'm just going to pick another part to make into a shape. So from here, there's a little bit of a gap between her face and her hair. So I'm just looking at this shape. That one's a nice long one. And then coming around, I can add in this one here maybe. Turn that into a shape. So that one just extends down from that first curve I did. And leaving a little bit of room between the face. Curves around. And again, I'm just looking at it as shapes. And I can erase and fix stuff later because I know that the hair really doesn't look exactly like this. It's just giving me a general guideline. And then I'm going to come in, and this is where her shoulder is, so I'm just going to see what kind of shapes I can pick out of here to do. So maybe something like that. So her shoulder comes actually across here. There's actually some hair in here too that kind of pulls down and comes around. And over by the shoulder, coming in, shoulder's over here. So this part of the hair is coming in about here. And you can erase stuff because some of these are definitely not correct lines, but okay, so I have kind of a general one side of the head, and then of course I would be moving on to the other side. But what you're going to do here is you're going to be looking at the different values of her hair, and you're going to be working on going in with individual strands. So instead of coloring like this inside the hair, instead I want you to practice the flicking of your wrists. So you're a little heavier when you're first putting the pencil down, and then your lines are getting a lot lighter. So you can see the difference there. This is where I'm just coloring back and forth. This is where I'm allowing my pencil to lift as I come to the end. So this is kind of more of what you need to be doing when you go to start shading in. And just pay attention to how dark it is or how light it is. So I'm going to start at the crown of her head, which is the top of her head, and I'm going to start shading in this little bit of the area first. And you can see it's pretty dark here, going into lighter. So I'm just coming in with those little strands. And you want to choose an area to focus on first. I think I went a little far in. So just choose a small area to start adding the hair into. And again, making sure to lift. And her hair's a lot lighter up here in the front, so I might do a lot lighter. You do want to go with the curve of the hair, so please don't go straight coloring this in like this. It needs to match the curve of her hair. It needs to follow the curve. Show you from some different areas. Let me put her over here so you can kind of see the hair and this hair at the same time. So like down here, if I wanted to give a little dimension, I could be coming up from here and leaving some area between the hair to give like a little highlight. And I feel like I've overdone it a little bit, so I'm going to erase a little bit. I've gone a little crazy with my adding of strands. Whoops, need a little bit better of an eraser, sorry. So I want to go in and just erase and fix some things. Which is good because with pencil you can just keep going back and fixing if you don't like some areas. So I'm just erasing this middle area and a little bit of up because her hair was a little lighter at the top, so I want to fix that too. So I'm just going up toward the other part, coming in a little lighter with this. And I'm going to actually leave a little area here with hardly any hair in there just because I want it to give the effect of like a highlight where the hair is curving. And then I can go on to another part of another shape. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start out a little darker toward the top and using that flicking motion going with the curve of the hair. Just start to add in that next area. And I think I'm going to come in and do it on this side. Just remember to keep using that flicking motion. Keep remembering to go with the flow of the hair. This would not be good. Don't do this in the middle of the hair. That doesn't go with the flow. And if you want to leave that reflection again, I would do it at where the big curves are. So just going, maybe starting here and bringing up, starting a little darker toward the ends, curving with the hair, but leaving that area for reflection again. Curving with the hair, flicking of the wrist, leaving a little bit of that white to show that reflection. And then I'm going to start in another shape here. So I'm going to start with this one. See if I can get my girl back in there. So I'm down here in this section of her hair now. So I'm just starting in my next shape, starting at the corner there and going darker. Staying with the directions of the hair. Just kind of flicking along. In here, where there's a shadow between the face, you do want to go in and shade that in. So that's going to be very dark, because that's a gap. It's not hair, and it's not skin. And then I'm going to come up from the end again. So I started there, and I'm going to come up from up here, flicking with the direction of the hair. And I'm going to leave one of those highlights again. I feel like I could move that up a little bit. I feel like it came too far down. Okay, so I've got part of the hair colored in. This is time consuming. This is a very time consuming part. So you're just going to keep going through and trying to continue that, going with the flow of the hair. If you need to erase parts, you can go in and erase if you need to fix things. But don't just color in all the hair in one big color. So now I'm just going to come into the next section and keep doing the same thing. Flow of the hair, flowing with the curves of the hair. So there's one side of my hair. And if you wanted to make it look a little more completed, gently you can go in and kind of rub those darker areas. I wouldn't rub through your highlights. And if you need to go back and clean up your highlights, you can rub through a little bit, but if you need to go back and clean up your highlights, just go back with an eraser and take out the areas that you want to have more highlights. And then you're going to be working on the other half.